quick pause to let you know that Black Friday is approaching and my team and I are preparing some great stuff for you. So if you always wanted to join one of my programs to master the art of hand lettering and take your creative business to new heights, this is the best time to do it. And if you want to have priority access to our biggest sale of the year, join our email list and unlock exclusive offers on our trainings, one-time bundles, and deals. Go to martinaflor.com/extrablack to join the early access list to our Black Friday offers. Go to martinaflor.com/extrablack. Now back to the show. Hello and welcome to another episode of Open Studio. I'm your host, Martina Flor, and in this show I have honest conversations with artists, designers, and creatives to uncover their story and the specific tactics they use to build a successful career around their skills and the work they love doing. Today, I'll be having a conversation with Veronica Fuerte. Veronica is a designer, illustrator, international speaker, and creative director from Barcelona. After graduating from Elisava and Eina, she gained experience in several design studios. In 2007, she founded Hey, which has grown steadily since achieving worldwide recognition. Veronica believes in a multidisciplinary and broad approach to design. She enjoys limitless creativity, bold language, and a forward-thinking perspective on what they do and how they create. This was a wide-ranging conversation with a woman that made her way into a male-dominated industry like the creative industry. Veronica shared her beginnings from studying her solo studio from her apartment in Barcelona to now managing a team of several designers working for clients and brands across the globe. She shared the tactics she used to grow her client base while creating a strong visual identity that helped Hey Studio stand out in the crowd of creative studios out there. Veronica also shared the journey of one of her self-initiated projects, Hey Shop, that started as an online shop to sell posters to being a retail store in the heart of Barcelona, selling all kinds of creative products. Enjoy this conversation with Veronica Fuerte. Hi, Veronica. How are you doing today? Thank you for coming on the show.
Fine. Yeah, Martina, thank you so much for the invitation.
Veronica, you run a successful creative studio. You're in charge of overseeing major projects for clients, for commercial clients, and you also manage Hey Studio's personal projects like the shop and a retail store that we're going to talk about later on. And you're in general a boss lady in my eyes, and I bet that in the eyes of many of our listeners, you're a boss lady that manages a team of designers. And I'm sure that many of our listeners will agree with me when I say that you are a female role model. And especially when it wasn't until recently that we started seeing more and more women taking on management positions or creative director positions or roles in our industry. So I usually start the podcast with a strong question that hopefully will open up different venues of conversation for us. And the question is, how does a woman open their way in a male-dominated industry like the creative industries? What are some of the things that new female creative leaders need to be prepared for?
It's a good question, Martina, to start a podcast. Yes, I think I always thought that I'm equal, like everybody, so like a man. So, and also because my parents, they are entrepreneurs. I will explain that on interviews. And they work so hard. I mean, both of them. So maybe I think that's because my childhood was like working, like learning about work. And I know that it's sometimes stressful, but this is what I ended at the end. And I think that like, I don't see different from men. I mean, it's like I can be the same. I can run a studio, be a leader, and I think the same. Of course, during my journey has been like different key moments, but everything is possible.
So it was early in your life that you saw, like in your own mother, a strong entrepreneurship model, right? And it
Yeah.
was like seeing this model really set you up for success, and kind of like you never thought twice whether you were able to do it or not because you saw your model just doing it.
Yes, I saw both my parents, and for me it was like normal, Of course, my father was the leader, and my mother was like not the leader, but not the partner, but they were working closely always. So for me, we were the same. But yes, I think that's because of that. I continue like doing the same, but of course my interest.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit more about that story. About how did it start for you? Like, where did you grow up? What were your parents doing? They were entrepreneurs in which discipline or which industry?
Yes, I grew up in a very small city near Barcelona, like a village. And yes, my childhood was like being in a village and with my friends, like walking by not taking buses or metros, or I was like in the city, very close, and yes, and from very, very child, I knew that creativity was my passion. So when I was 5 years old, 6, I always wanted to do creative things, and I remember my mother always like wanted me to, I did extra after school. My mother wanted me to do sports, and I remember, now, because my daughter explained the other day, my mother to my daughter, that the second day of doing a sport, I wanted to continue. Like always, like the second day, and try. And one day I'd say, I want to do something with hands. And she signed in something about creativity. And I was there like a long time, years and years.
Amazing. What were you doing?
A lot of things, like painting, craft, doing like collage, different techniques, everything by hand, different techniques. And I was there like passing the hours and hours every like two days a week.
And what were your parents doing? You mentioned that they were entrepreneurs.
Yes.
What were they?
They have a company.
What was their business? Yeah.
It's not related with creativity. They have an industrial company in metal. Yeah. So they do pieces for metal pieces for cars or electrodomestics. So nothing related with creativity. So when I said I want to do graphic design, they said, "What is this?" But of course, But now they understand. Not all, but they understand.
Oh, so many things that I want to ask you here, but I will start with like, how was that? Do you remember how that conversation was? At the moment where you told your parents that you wanted to go down the path of creativity, or that you wanted to go to art school? What did they say? What was the conversation like?
I think I don't remember that day, but I think it was like normal because they knew that when I was from very small, little, like I wanted always to do this. So for them it was like, you need to do wherever you want, Vero.
Yeah.
So I don't remember like a specific day. Yes, I remember like going to this fair. I don't know if every country has that. You go to a fair where they have a little stands where you can like ask for, I wanted to do this. University has little stands. So I went to the graphic design stand and I said, okay, what kind of things are I going to learn? And I remember that one of the things is the first year was color. I said, and I was amazed about that. So I'm going to have like 3 hours a week learning about color. And they said, yes. And that was something I realized, I love that.
Sign me up. Amazing. And you mentioned that your parents were entrepreneurs in the metal industry, or they had a company that worked with metal.
Yes.
So that seems pretty different from running a creative business, at least at the first sight. And I wonder if you feel that you, through living with them and being their daughter, you learn some skills or you learn about some concepts of running a business that help you nowadays run your business. Do you see that showing up nowadays in your own practice as a business manager? Things that you learn as a kid, or concepts, conversations that you listen to at home?
Yeah, of course I didn't realize, but I think I get like the big picture. Yeah. Not the details, of course, but yeah, so the main values and the effort and the strength and everything. Yes, of course, not the details, but yes, of course, it was very important, like growing up like this. Yeah.
We have, or you have, you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs, right? And the image of an entrepreneur is probably very different nowadays than it was back then, right?
Yes.
So back then it was like working from, working day and night, not having any idea about work-life balance.
Yes.
And nowadays I feel that we as a generation are growing more consciously, or we are more conscious about, what is important in life. Okay, I love my business, I love doing what I do, but there's also other things in life. And I wonder, what were the things that you did differently, or you do different nowadays in comparison with what your parents did, or what you learned?
I think because, of course, we are different generations, and the past generations were like based on give, just give to the others. And also they were because to give to their kids, family, and not give to themselves. And I think that's the big change of that. Yeah. So because I work for me and for the others as well. I mean, not just for me. And I think it's taking care of ourselves. It's the most different thing about the other generations. Like, okay, it's very important to work. For me, it's a passion, of course, but there is a boundary, there is a limit that I need to, because I know if I take care of myself better, the work is going to be better. So it's this balance, like, because my parents, maybe they didn't take care of their personal life. Of course, it's difficult to say that. Like, for me, it's very important, like, doing therapy and, like, knowing myself and these things. Yeah. And, of course, my parents not. And I think that's the change. Like, invest in your time to be a better person, to know the others, and everything, like, to give and to work better. And maybe it's like at the end it's more effective. Less work and more effective. I'm not sure if I answered that question. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we grew more conscious of how important it is, or we are, as a tool for our creativity, and I think what you're saying right now is that, you are the main tool of your business, and if you don't take care of yourself, you won't be able to deliver great work, which is at the end what you're here for, right, as a creative. So I think it does make a lot of sense. And in comparison with older generations, I think where they were putting in the hours and just not taking care of all the rest, I think that's a big shift in our generation.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, like, once you decided to go to art school, what came after that? So I think you went to Elisava in Barcelona, is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Yeah. And what came after that? What was your path after you finished art school?
So I was working in different studios in Barcelona for around 6-7 years. And also in my third degree and fourth, I was working as well, like doing internships, because I wanted to work. I wanted, like, to run the real life, And so yes, I was working, but I knew that I wanted to have my own studio. But first, I needed to learn from the others, and that's the reason I work like around 7 years. And in that period, I remember my year when I finished university was the first year of doing Erasmus, studying abroad, and I couldn't make it because only one person or two of my class made it. Of course, it's something I really, now if I could change like history, I would love to do that. But yes, I was in Barcelona working in different studios. It's where I learned a lot, working for the others and learning from the others. Yeah.
And when was the moment where you decide to go freelance? And what was the process of going freelance? I mean, some people decide for the approach or go for the approach of like, starting to have their first freelance clients on the side while they keep their day job. Some take the leap into freelancing and they just go all in. What was your approach to start building your client base and start your own studio?
Yes, I had one client or two, and also because my ex, the father of my daughter, also is a designer. So sometimes we work together in freelance. And so I was working 3 years in a small studio, and I think, I realized after 3 years that I couldn't make a studio. I couldn't run a studio, and I had just one client or two, very small. And I decided, that's the moment. And also because at that moment we stay here, we bought this flat where I'm staying. Yeah. So everything was like decided, and I founded the studio here in this room. Yes.
Amazing.
Now it's my room, but it used to be the studio.
Amazing. So what was the process? You mentioned that you had already 2 or 3 clients when you started your own studio. What's the process of acquiring more clients? And I would love to know a little bit about, if you can share a little bit about the client outreach process that you had at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have like a lot of contacts. And sometimes, contacts arrive because of friends, family, I don't know. I didn't have, so I said, let's contact them. And also it was in 2007, 8, and it was a big crisis in the world. Also in Spain was so strong.
Totally,
And I remember, I'm going to contact clients, and I contact locally from Barcelona, museums, publishing houses, and I built a small portfolio of my previous jobs. And I said, I'm going to send it. And they contact me. I was so lucky. And because I sent this portfolio, it was a physical one, a booklet. And I sent it to the person, not general address. So the person of taking care of the communications, everything. And I had a lot of lucky because I think I had 3 clients because of that portfolio. And after that, also one client takes another client. And yes, that was and also in that area, in that age, I didn't have Instagram. Or because social media was only Flickr. I had Flickr, and I upload everything there. And yes, I don't know, started to have Instagram. So everything was social media arrived. And yes, I started to have more clients, international clients. It was organic. It was something I didn't look for, but at the end, all my effort to reach clients, new clients, and at the end was useful, of course. Yeah, it was a lot of working for, knocking doors and
So you had this approach of contacting, reaching out to clients. And I think what is really great about what you were saying is that, and it's something that I speak often about with other creatives or newcomers to the creative industries, is that you are not just sending your material to a lot of different people. You were just selecting the people you wanted to work with, and you were finding the person who was responsible for hiring you, which is really, you know, what made your efforts really effective. You know, your portfolio was landing on the hands of those people who will eventually hire you, right?
Yes.
Now, I want to ask you, how does your... Yes.
No, continue, Martina.
Sorry,
yes.
Go ahead.
No, it was like you are saying. It's totally,
yes. Yeah, I was wondering, how did you, you know, how it seems that nowadays social media is, or it has been, at least for some of your personal projects, like your online shop, it has been also a motor, right? It has been the place where you connected with your audience, where you sell your products, or the products that you create for your shop. And we're going to speak about the shop down the road, but I want to ask you, how did that come into place? How did you manage to build that audience on social media? If this is something that you did consciously, or is something that grew organically, and how did that happen? Because I know that many people out there are wondering, or many artists out there are wondering, how do I create that platform? How do I, you know, how do I expand my following on social media? And I wonder how that process was for you.
Yeah, I remember talking about Instagram. I opened the Instagram account in 2011. Yeah. So yes, my first pictures were pictures of me and my daughter, like personal, you know, because of course at the beginning we didn't know that was could be professional.
Yeah.
And one day I realized, okay, this is more than just pictures of my family. And I started to upload pictures of the studio, and I have a different Instagram for me. It was organically, I mean, I didn't think about that like something like could get me job at the beginning. And it was like transparent always. I ran the Instagram account. And I think this is something important, and at the end is people notice that if you run the Instagram or not. It's 100% the studio, it's 100% how I see the studio. Just the studio, the shop now is running by another person. But yes, I think like being honest with yourself and what you think, and not trying to hide something. This is how I do it. I never like think about what's the best day to upload a picture. What's the best hour? This is something I never check. So this is how I make it. I don't have like a formula or a magic trick, but
yeah.
Yes.
But it's interesting because at the same time you realize how much of a tool this is for your business, or at least for some of the parts of your business, like your online shop or reaching out to different audiences, right? So and as a tool, you keep on working on it. You keep on sharing your work. You keep on sharing work that you put up for sale on your online shop. And I wonder, when was the moment in which you realized that this was not only a place where you will share your work, but it could also be a platform for you to expand your reach, and also to create an income for your business? Was there any event or any moment where you realized, hey, wait, when I post this one poster on my online shop, it creates I don't know how many sales? You know, what was the process of realizing that this was a tool for your business?
Yes, I think when I started like to receive like commissions by Instagram, or maybe contacts for possible commissions.
Yeah.
And I realized this is a website, you know. This is not just a platform to share things that I like, you know. And this is serious, and also is serious in a way that you can show not just like the perfect picture.
Yeah.
For me, Instagram now is very different, but I see like the instant, like showing what you are doing right now. It's very, very important. Like I always say, like the stories, of course, at the beginning they weren't stories, Like the stories is like your soul, and the posts and the feed is your body. So I think it's like different sides of now. I think it's very, when I remember one day, I think it was in 2012, 13, I received a message from in Instagram from one of the creative directors in Apple in San Francisco, because he was following me and I didn't know that. And he asked me for my email, and then we got in touch and we were working for Apple. And we are still working for them, and that was because this guy saw a picture on Instagram and it was a work in progress. It wasn't something it wasn't in my website. Yeah, I think this is very important. I mean, take care of everything you upload on Instagram.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, totally. I think and the good and the bad, I mean, for me it's like, it's important, but sometimes it's just the instant, don't trying to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And how does your client outreach looks like nowadays? Do you keep on maintaining these social media channels of yours and this platform, but you must continue, or I can imagine that you continue reaching out to clients and trying to expand your client base. How does this look like for you?
Yes, I think we continue like showing it on website, social media, all these kind of channels, but also I give a lot of talks, conferences, and I think it's important like to be connected in many ways, just people, like creative people, and also connected in your city, like in what is happening in your city, like people, entrepreneurs, like new things, being active. I mean, staying at home is not going to work. I mean, you need to be active. So totally. It's a lot of work as well. Like to lead a studio is not just, okay, I'm staying here, like waiting for an email to come. No, you need to work on that. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think this is also part of your entrepreneurial spirit that you grew up with, because also like besides the work that you do for clients, you also run your own personal projects, right? And I want to mention the online shop, but also I want to touch on how the online shop has now expanded into a retail store. And this is quite an undertaking, right? To start a physical store, it has other complexities. So I want to first touch on how the online shop started. What were the motivations behind it? Because I know that you have a strong position around creating personal work, and how this really brings your, or how this really helps you stand out in the crowd, or at least it has helped Hey Studio stand out in the crowd of other creative studios, the personal work that you put out there and your online shop. So I want to hear a little bit about this, the journey that you had with the online shop and how did this all started.
Yes. I always say that the online shop started the first day of Hey in 2007. Yes, because I started like doing side projects because I didn't have clients. Yeah. And I said, okay, let's do work, because as a creative, we can do whatever we want. It's not necessary to have machines, just a computer and our creativity. So I started like to work on personal project, illustrations, graphics, a lot of things, like trying to find the style. So when we had like spare time, we focused on doing personal projects since the beginning of the studio. Yeah. And all these projects were on a website or Flickr, like without anything else, just showing it. Yeah. And through the years, like people started to send us emails asking for these graphics to buy. And I said, it's not for sale. It's just there. And after like receiving like some emails, I said, okay, maybe there's something here. Like that's the reason. I mean, there wasn't something I wasn't prepared for that. And I said, okay, maybe people ask for that, so maybe we can do a shop and print posters. Of course, my first idea was posters, because as a graphic designer, print is my like first idea.
Totally.
Yes, I love posters, of course. I'm a designer, and I said, okay, let's do posters, like posters. And it was a lot of work because I needed to find the supplier, the paper, the machine, how we're going to print. A lot of work.
Yeah.
The delivery is a lot of things. And after like 3-4 years of the online store, I said, okay, what I started like doing posters. Maybe these posters can be a blanket or a scarf or nothing. It's not necessary to be a paper. So we started like to look on providers, things, a lot of work as well. But yes, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And also through these years, people came to the studio from all over the world. Like, okay, they sent us emails like, can I go and visit the studio? And also I want to buy your things, okay, because everything was in our studio. And I said, yes, you can come. Of course, it was like a studio visit / shop in our studio. And of course we were working, like trying to do everything. And one day I said, okay, so maybe it's because there was people asking for that. And I said, maybe it's okay to make a store. Like, because people is coming to the studio and we are working. I mean, it's not a place to, because every time, like every summer or spring, a lot of people came. And then I said, okay, I have friends, like they have stores, clothes stores, others. And I started like to ask, and I rent a place near my home.
Yeah.
And yes, and after it was, everything is like very nice, lovely, and very detailed. Like it's not just a store; it's a place that you can drink very nice coffee, specialty coffee, that you can read vintage books, with the workshops. It's an inspiration place. And after like 6 months, like COVID came, so it was also very I don't know how to say it, for me, like very, very difficult to survive, but I couldn't make it. And now we are going like to do a lot of things, events, and yeah. But yes, it's something like grew up organically.
Yeah. And I wonder, because it's really interesting how the entire journey was. Like, it seems that you took information or feedback from your own audience to take every step of, every step that you took throughout this project. So it seems that because people were requesting prints from they were asking you, hey, where can I buy this? You started your online shop, and then came the moment where, people asked to pass by your studio space to just buy some of your prints. And then you decided, because you got this feedback from your audience, you decided to take on the next stage, which is opening a retail store. And I think that's such a valuable learning from that experience, like to hear your audience and what they want and what they need, and react to that instead of like using the opposite process, like just putting something out there and hoping that the people will want to have it. I think your process was really organic in that sense, that you heard your audience and then you created something to comply with their requests. And I'm really curious about knowing how is because I can imagine that having a retail store, a physical store, where you have a physical space, you have employees working in the store, you have to, create a whole concept for the store itself. I can imagine that it's a really big undertaking. And I want to know a little bit about what was the process of starting to think about this? What was the process of, you as an entrepreneur? I can imagine that you were, assessing the risks and the profits of a project of this kind, just to understand if this is something you wanted to go into or not. So how was the process of assessing that in order to decide whether you do it or not?
Of course, I did my paperwork and my research for that, and my numbers. Yeah. And I said, okay, it's something. I think it's viable. I mean, it's not about earning a lot of money, because now we are not earning money, but also not losing. and this is enough because we came from 2 years of COVID. So
Yeah.
of course, COVID wasn't in my
In your your cash flow sheet.
no. So something to take in mind. Yeah, and yes, of course, I did my work on that, and also I had like people that I could trust for the store, working in the store.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, I have the people, I have the plan, I have the money. I asked for money in the bank because I didn't have all the money.
Yeah.
And yes, and I said, okay, let's go.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. And yes, it was exciting, a lot of work.
Yeah.
I mean, now when I think about if I do it the same, I don't know if I will have the same energy because it took me 2 years to rescue me of this effort. Like a lot of energy, and mentally it was so stressful. Now everything is okay. Everything is like the rhythm. We are like creating stuff in the studio. Now it's okay, but at the first months, years on COVID was something, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I was sick of business. I mean, my now is sorry for the audience to hear that, but nothing is all like butterflies, you know.
Yeah.
I was very, very stressful, and my body was sick, and I need a lot of therapy and a lot of things to rescue. Yeah,
to recover from that. I can imagine, especially with a physical store where you have fixed costs, you have you have a place that you need to rent, you need to pay for rent.
Yes.
You already, you are creating physical products, so you are investing upfront, and you have you stocked product already. So I can imagine that it has been really stressful, and I'm happy to hear that you're breaking even, and that you're past this phase, right?
Yes, now we are really exciting because we are like starting to do like book presentations for people that I know. Like it's going to start again, and so I really love it. I mean, it's exciting, like to create things from zero.
Yeah.
To
and
I think the reason also because of the store, online and offline, is because as creative, I think we can create things without having a client.
Yeah.
Because the most powerful tool that we have is creativity.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important for everybody.
Yeah. I want to touch shortly on, we have touched on working for clients, taking on big projects for Apple, and creating your own self-initiated projects like your online shop, now your retail store. Of course, everyone assumes, and we know that you have a team working for you. And I want to know a little bit more about this process. What was the process? And I know that we are taking a left turn here in the conversation, but I want to know a little bit about how was the process of getting to that point where you said, hey, I need help here. And what were the steps of actually doing that? Because, one thing is understanding that you need help in order to move forward with your business. And the other thing is to put the systems in place and to have the structure to actually hire people and to get the help you need. So I want to, if you would like to share, I would love to hear a little bit more about the process of like expanding your team.
Yeah. Okay. So as I was explaining, everything that I do is because of a reason. I mean, it's organically. I don't do anything without thinking it very well.
Yeah.
So the first year I was alone, and the second an intern came to the studio, just half of the day. And after a year, he was full time. Like everything is like going step by step, like slowly.
Yeah.
And yes, and that's how I work. I mean, I try like to work like, okay, let's step by step and not work like very like fast without thinking. and I had this guy, and then after that we had more work, and also came another intern, and this intern was full time as well. So through the years was like from 0, 1, 2, 3. At the studio now we are around 6, 5 at the studio, and it's the size that I like.
Yeah.
And at the store we are 2, 3. And I think it's something that I can manage, and the size is very important, because if I was like 20 person, I couldn't control it by myself. I need more people, and for example, now there's a person working at the studio for 2 weeks, 3. It's Linus, and I know him for a long time, and sometimes he come to help us, and so just for a specific time we ask for help. But I try like to be a small studio and like grow if we need with collaborators.
Yeah.
So yes, the process was organically, and I think everything was on my mind, because the first day I thought about the name of the studio.
Yeah.
I never thought about my name or my surname or these things, because I thought, okay, how I can create something that people is going work in my team with my name, it's weird.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, let's create a name that is for everybody, and it's inclusive. So I think from the beginning I knew that, but I needed time to realize.
I was just curious about how your role changed throughout the years. I was saying you went from being a solopreneur and being the one who manages, your clients and does the work and just takes care of everything, to run a studio or a project that involves a lot more people, right? To manage a team, right? So I just wonder, what were the things that you had to give up along the way? I'm just asking this just to give you a little bit of background information, or where this question is coming from. Is I feel that my own process of going from a solopreneur or a freelancer to having a team was to give up on things that I used to do myself, and now I need to delegate. And it's fine for me if sometimes the creative work is done by someone else, and I can take care of other things that are very important in order to keep the business running. And it was a process to actually grow into this role. It was a process to actually give up certain roles that where I was totally in charge before, and now just leave that to someone else that I really trust, but leave that to someone else and take on other roles in my business. So I wonder, what were, how was that change for you, and what were the things that you had to give up in order to fully embody this new role that you took on in your project and in your own studio?
Yeah, of course, change through the years. And the first years I did everything by myself. That was quite stressful. I did everything: design, paperwork, project manager, everything.
Oh my God.
Like everybody, starts a studio. You don't have like the money to hire a project manager. And I studied graphic design. I love designing. This is where I enjoy the best. So of course, through the years, I'm not designing like 100%. It's just I guide my team in a creative direction, and I gave them like freedom to do what they think is necessary for the project. Of course, at the beginning we explain the brief, everything, and I guide them. And I said, okay, I can't like design from zero. Sometimes I make it if it's a very small project, but my role now is like guide them, guide them to be the better they can do in all the ways. It's not just a designer, also the project manager, the people working at the store, everybody there.
Yeah.
So my role is like to give them the tools to to make their work better.
Yeah, you had to, in a way, give up all the manufacturing of the things, right? In a way, you had to, yeah.
I'm lucky that I'm not doing like invoices and quotations. This is a good thing. But of course, I'm there like listening and trying, okay, let's do that. And of course, I'm not like sitting all the time and deciding for a typeface and maybe spending like 2 hours or 3 like looking for the best typeface.
Yeah.
But this is something I don't have the time, but I have the time to say, okay, look for that typeface in that foundry, or that I know it because now I can make it very, very fast compared with my team because I have more experience, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Veronica, as we come closer to the end of this show, I want to ask you, you have achieved so much with Hey Studio, and I can imagine that it really required a lot of work, and it really required a lot of focus and determination. And when you focus on something, you leave other things behind. It's like the natural process of things. When you decide to do this, you need to give up on other things. And I wonder, what are the things that you have given up along the way that you wish you have managed differently, or things that you used to push to the side in the past, and now you're like, no, wait, this is important for me, and I'm going to put this front and center.
It's difficult
and
because
you can
when
take a minute to think about this. Yeah,
I know, because I don't feel that I give up things. I mean, the only thing, because when you work with your passion, it's difficult.
Yeah.
The only thing I when I saw my past is when my daughter was born. That I was 30 years old and I was like working. I couldn't stop working. And also because in Spain, for the freelance, we don't have like, I don't know the name in English, like that time
like
to stay.
Maternity
Yeah,
leave?
we don't have it in the freelancers. So of course I needed to work to earn money.
Yeah.
So of course sometimes I said, okay, maybe if I look in the past, I said, okay, let's take time for my daughter.
Yeah.
It's the only thing. Yeah, and also because my passion is about work, and sometimes it's the time that I spend with my daughter that maybe I couldn't make it more time.
Yeah.
But this is how I feel.
Yeah, totally. And I can totally relate to that feeling of like, hey, maybe I should have paid more attention to this or that. At the same time, when you look back, you made the best decision for yourself and your daughter in that moment, which was like,
in
okay,
that moment,
I need to make. Yeah.
Of course, I think if it was now, maybe I will do the same. I don't know, but I'm now 42. It's different.
And these are some of the things that or the downsides of running your own business, if we can call it in a way. What are some of the things that you freaking love about running your own business and being your own boss?
Yeah, the things that I really enjoy, and when it's stay like super happy, is when my team is 100% happy and like is matching everybody in the team. I think now we have a team that is like 100% almost like match, and for me is arrive there and talking in everybody with no egos, like helping each other, like creating like a team, a very good team. That for me this is the most wonderful moment.
Amazing. So the team, it seems that you really invested some time into nurturing that team. And it does make a lot of sense, if you think about the fact that we spend most of our time, or a big part of our day working or at work, I think it makes so much sense to create that sense of like well-being and, you know, being in a family and like having a nice team with people that you really like, right? So it's such a good investment, I feel.
Yes, because we are like 8 hours working together a lot. So at the end, is the least I can do is like invest time and effort and money, because I do a lot of things for creating this environment. Yeah, it's very important for me. And if the team is happy, the client is happy, the projects are nice, everything, it's better.
The studio owner is happy as well.
I can dream and sleep very well at night.
Yes. Amazing. Veronica, to wrap up, I always play a little game with my guests. The game is called Finish the Sentence. So what I do is I basically start a sentence and you complete it. Okay. Are you in for the game?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm proud of myself because
I work in what I love.
I'm terrible at
numbers.
One day I'm going to
have a boyfriend.
I'm always chosen first when it comes to...
sorry, can you repeat it, Martina?
I'm always chosen first when it comes to...
organizing.
I couldn't do without...
Without my better me.
I could never get bored of...
A lot of things. Drink a nice coffee with friends. Coffee or wine?
I love that. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you so much, Veronica, for being here today. Where can people find you? And also, I would love to mention your podcast so that people can also go visit it. I will add the podcast to the show notes, but perhaps you can mention or talk to us a little bit about the podcast.
Yes, the podcast is called Women at Work, and you can find it on Spotify or Apple Podcast. And we interview, I'm not the host, it's Anne Guerra, she's a journalist, is the host. And we talk with female creatives about creativity and how they run the studio, and it's all the podcasts are about women in not just graphic design, like creativity. And I think it's a reference to other women that we can run studios, we can do whatever we want, and it's just to give voices to all of them.
Hell yeah. So I'm going to add this to the show notes. Can you please also give your social media handles and perhaps any other place where people can find you?
Yes, the Instagram is Hey Studio, and we have Hey Shop as well, and Women at Work. And that's all. Yeah, everything is Hey Studio. So if you Google Hey Studio, is there.
Amazing. And we will add all of this to our show notes so that people can find you. And also the shop, the podcast, everything that you do and you put out there. Thank you so much, Veronica. You're amazing.
Thanks to you, Martina. It was very nice.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for listening today. See you on the next episode of Open Studio. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So this is it. I hope you loved this episode. You can find me, the host of the show, on social networks at Martina Flor on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. If you have a question or comments, go to martinaflor.com/podcast, where you can see previous episodes, find show notes, and send voice memos with your comments and questions. You can also watch these episodes on YouTube. Just go to martinaflor.com/YouTube to find them. You can, of course, listen to all our episodes on your favorite podcast platform. If you loved this episode, subscribe to this podcast. And if you leave us a review, it will help others find us. Thank you all for listening, and see you in the next episode of Martina Flor's Open Studio. Bye-bye.